Kaya, you're super cool. You do tons of crazy stuff. Please, can you tell everybody what slopestyle skiing is?
The way I describe it to the general public, I guess, is basically if you've ever been out on the ski hill, skiing or snowboarding, and you see the snow park with the rails, the jumps, that's what I compete on. So it's not an event that's timed. It's judged purely on like style, technicality, difficulty, execution, and it's a best of 2 runs. So it's judged, and it's all about creativity and bringing your flow.
Yeah, so you're basically skiing in like what we'd consider a skate park.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like a skate park on snow. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So 8-time gold medalist in the Winter X Games. Like, you obviously enjoy winning.
I do.
One wasn't enough. You had to do it 8 times.
Well, it's never enough. It's crazy how that happens, eh? Like, I accomplished 1. It had been the dream, and then it was like next day. It's like, well, what's next? What's next? We're human, right? We always we strive for more. We strive for greater things, and so I ended at 8.
You ended at 8.
Yes.
We'll call it at 8.
It's a good number.
It is. Yeah. It's a good. I like it. How does it feel to win 8 Winter X Games medals? We'll never achieve that. We're just the regular folks. So tell us what does that feel like, standing up there 8 times?
You know what? I mean, I don't know. It's not like every time I'm like, okay, this is my first and second and third and fourth, like awesome. Like now I got 8. It's just more like I said, the next day after winning, it's kind of like I set my eyes on the next goal, on the next goals, like, okay, what do I have to do to prep for the next X Games or the next Dew Tour, the next Olympics? Like, where am I at? Or how do I get through this knee injury, this 9-month ACL rehab that I've done 4 times, And so it kind of just like, it constantly refreshes, we're evolving, I'm an evolving person. We're all evolving humans, and we want to, like I said earlier, strive to continue to grow. And so, 1 was great, and then I just wanted to continue. Like the goal was the goal was to win. I love winning. But it was to push the sport, to push myself, to expand, to, make the possible out of the impossible. Like, show the world that, in fact, there are a lot of things that are considered not doable, and I went out there and I said, recheck,
It wasn't all smooth sailing the whole time. Now, just to reframe, Kaya's had a 10-year career, which in the extreme sports world is like forever, right? And you've just recently retired as of like a few weeks ago or a few days ago even.
Yes, yeah.
So welcome to retirement and the good life.
Thank you, yeah. That's good.
So you've got obviously lots of aches and pains, and the body has paid the price for some of those successes. Can you share with us what kind of mindset you have to have as far as coming back from those kinds of setbacks?
Yeah, definitely. It's been an amazing ride. I've had a lot of successes, but certainly tumultuous. I've had 4 knee reconstructions. Between 6 to 9 month of rehab each time. Shoulder reconstruction. I've torn my pancreas right in half. Ooh. I've had surgery on my neck. Dislocated all these joints, plated fingers, arms. You name it. I've been through it, and that's in 10 years too. So it's like along all the successes, I was on the sidelines a lot of the time. And these injuries, like, people kind of always, like, from the outside think it's like the glamorous life, and they don't understand the underlayer. There's a lot of, physical work, but it's emotional and it's mental, right? You go through, like, my first knee injury and my pancreatic and knee injury were kind of back to back, and like, most depressing 2 years of my life. Like, it hit me like a brick wall. And then, I learned so much about my body. I learned, the importance of training, nutrition. I found, I started to sculpt the right team of people around me, physical therapists, doctors, nutritionists, and really learned so much through that process. And then the second time I blew my knee was like, it sounds crazy, but it was like a piece of cake. I knew what I was doing. I could have done it almost with my eyes closed. And so it's the adversity. It's like, it's coming out of those deep holes, that sometimes seem impossible to come out of, that's like, I think where I've gained all my strength, is looking back, like, great, the medals, awesome. Like, I love that, they're hanging, or a couple of them are hanging on the wall, but when I look back on the career, I'm almost in awe. I'm just like, I feel like that's a testament of like, my steel will, and I think the human, the human will, and what we can accomplish if we really if we dig deep, and decide. It's a choice to go on.
So you had a really interesting experience. I want you to share it with everybody, because it's like, it revolves around the Olympics, and your opportunity to participate at the Olympics in 2014.
Yes.
Right? And you train for so long, and you get to a certain place, and there's all these expectations, and I want you to share a little bit of like your mental journey and how you climbed out of that, and then maybe finish off with where you're at today.
Great, I will do. So I mentioned all the physical injuries and the emotional and mental components that kind of came along with that. But the Olympics was a whole other beast. I went in, I blew my knee for the third time this time, right before the Olympics. And like everybody knows, or every doctor will tell you, I'm in orthopedics, like you don't even touch snow before 6 months post-op. And I literally blew it, ironically, like 6 months to the day right before the Olympics. And I had been the #1 seed on the Canadian team. I was #1 in the world. Everyone was expecting me to, it was like a given, gold medal baby, slopestyle queen, all of that, like no pressure, a lot of which came from myself. But I blew it, and it was like, it was a nightmare, right? Like first 3 days, I'm thinking like, what am I doing? I'm scrambling, and finally I find a doctor who's willing to do a kind of experimental surgery on my knee. So basically, I have all these different kinds of body parts in my knees serving as ligaments, and this time I had a rubber ligament intertwined with a cadaver, a piece of some cadaver. I don't know much more about it. Yeah.
Hardcore.
Like very experimental. And so the idea was that I would come back the hope was to come back much earlier. So rehab would get me back on snow in 4 months. Unheard of, crazy. It's going smoothly. Come back at 5 months, win the X Games. And it's just like, oh my God. Like, I was like, I don't even know what's going on. This is crazy. Everyone's like, defy the impossible, So all of a sudden the expectations my expectations are like, cool, I'm going to the Olympics, I'm going to win. Like, I've never not podiumed in my life, I got this. And everybody else is buzzing like, oh, she's back. Win the Olympics, head over to Europe. I don't want to make excuses, and I always feel weird and a little vulnerable talking about this, but like definitely, it was the perfect storm. I caught a virus, like I was quarantined at the Olympics, stuck in my room. No one would want to touch me with a 10-foot pole. I was lonely, I couldn't sleep, stressed out of my mind. And basically, I just completely imploded. Like, my shoulder was dislocating in practice. I was weak. My knee, again, fell through. And like, even days before the event, I had lost it. I knew I'd lost it. I could not, for the life of me, grasp it. And that was the first time in my life I didn't qualify for a finals event. And I couldn't wait to get out of Russia. I couldn't wait to disappear from the entire world, And, the subsequent maybe 18 months of my life, it was hitting a brick wall. Full speed hitting a brick wall. And I went in complete isolation. I went into a full identity crisis. This time it was a very big emotional hit. It was like all of a sudden it was like, who am I? Like, all of my past successes in my mind had been erased. And it was like, I'm a failure, I'm a loser, like, who am I? All I'd ever known of myself was a successful athlete. Mm-hmm. All I thought that everyone else knew of me was a successful athlete. And so I completely just pulled out and was depressed, anxious, and really just had to build myself up from inside, not from my external successes and how everyone treated me, in the ski world. It was just about, going out and meeting people, introducing myself as myself, and going to school and not mentioning a thing about skiing, because you introduce yourself as a pro skier, someone introduces you, it's like all of a sudden you see like the tone changes instantly, and it was really nice. And it was unfortunately like the most public heartbreak of my life, and it was extremely painful, but it was, I think, something I had to confront at some point in my life, and it just happened to be on a very public stage.
You're stronger now.
I know I'm stronger now. Basically, like, I reversed my model. My whole life I was like, I'm confident, I'm great, and I'm all these things because I'm a great skier, and I'm getting all this attention for it. And, this forced me to just completely like threw that notion upside down, and I had to build from the ground up. And it was like, no, I'm actually an amazing skier because of, all the characteristics that I hold within me, all of my strengths, they add up to me being an amazing athlete. And so all along I'd kind of had it, switched around. And I think we have a tendency, in this high-paced society too, is like we attach ourselves to our jobs and what kind of cars we drive and houses we own and our partners and our looks. And it's like, it was important to recheck all of that, and that was a huge reality check and painful, but my most enlightening and insightful experience as well.
Well, we can learn a ton from you and your experiences. I'm sure everybody's going through a little mental checklist of all the things that they've been through as well. You're now into retirement.
Yes.
You've got some new goals.
Yes.
Quickly, what are they? What are you up to?
Well,
what kind of
thanks for
craziness are you
asking. I know I'm talking a lot, and this has been zero for a while, but
all good.
hope you guys aren't too bored. Well, I'm really fascinated in the mind. I love the idea of performance, enhancing performance, trying to understand the mechanisms behind performance, the states of mind, and I'm definitely a believer in the mind's, the mental aspect, I believe is greater than the physical aspect in terms of like if I'm gonna weigh it out. And so I'm studying psychology. I would like to specialize in performance psych, pair that with some developmental psychology, and be able to I want to target the youth, and see how early I can get in and build, not just in terms of like sports, but just like a greater sense of self, a greater sense of confidence, and create a more kind of optimistic, flexible, imaginative youth and world.
Thanks for coming, everybody.
Pleasure. Thank you. Thank you so much.